G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smisson, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit. I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it. How's it going, Dad?
Pete.
So, sheep. You like sheep, Dad?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, sheep
I love
are
a good
okay.
sheep.
They're as dumb as a brick, but yeah, they're okay.
They're pretty dumb. The farmer works to create crossbred sheep to cut down labour and increase profit. So statistics show that the number of farmers in Australia has dropped by 22% since 2006.
Number of sheep farmers.
Yeah. Yes, number of sheep farmers.
And they're these meat sheep, presumably, not
I
wool
assume
sheep.
so. Some producers have been developing sheep that are easier to care for by eliminating the need for shearing and mulesing.
Yeah, well,
Did you want to explain what mulesing is?
Yeah, well, firstly, obviously it's meat sheep because you wouldn't want to eliminate the need for shearing if you got wool sheep because you've got to get the wool off somehow. Well, there are sheep that shed, but those are typically not, high quality wool. So mulesing is where, because the way sheep have ended up being bred is that sort of accidentally we've got a whole lot of wrinkles around their backside.
Yep.
And where the wool grows around it, and then obviously they're pooing and getting caught up in those wrinkles, and they get fly blown. So blowflies will come and lay their eggs. They'll bite the skin, make it bleed, and then lay their eggs in there, and then the maggots hatch out and start to eat the animal's backside.
It's like you're just glad it happens to sheep and not
so
humans,
they get these
right?
horrible infections. And so mulesing is cutting off all those extra bits of skin to stop that happening.
So yeah, producers are working to breed low-maintenance sheep as farmers and workers continue to walk away from the agricultural sector. Wattamondara farmer Leo Tompkins said finding shearers and labourers was getting harder even in sheep country in central New South Wales, and so he's been developing his own super breed. And then it's like, quote, "What we're trying to do is create a sheep that's a low-input sheep or a low-maintenance sheep that is going to be as productive or more productive and more profitable than other competing breeds at the moment." What we're finding is that many shedding breeds, because they are in their infancy in the industry, they haven't really achieved those production goals to compete with other wool sheep at the moment.
All right, so they are talking about shedding sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of work done on fleeces that will automatically fall off.
Yeah,
effectively at the end of the year, and some farmers I know have worked with putting coats on the sheep to keep the wool clean.
So this is sort of like with horses and that when they get cold, you sometimes see them with those rugs over the back of them.
Keeps the wool clean, so it needs a lot less processing, so it makes it cheaper to deal with, and it's high quality wool because the fibre isn't damaged. But also they end up with, at the end of a growth cycle, there's a weak point in the fibre, and it just breaks and falls off.
That's clever. Okay.
So they're shedding it rather than having to go and cut it off, shearing it. So
is that normally what happens with dogs and cats that shed in summer, or is it falling off at the skin level, like the cells die or something in the hair follicle and the hairs fall out?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, we've got a dog at the moment. It's Labradors shed twice a year. They get a winter coat and a summer coat. Don't ask me why in the beginning of winter our dog is shedding. So
well, he's like, I've got to make space for that good quality.
But Labradors in particular have that double coat. They have the fluffy undercoat and then the guard hairs top coat. And it's the fluffy undercoat that they want to get rid of.
Yeah, because that's keeping all the heat
summer, and then grow a new one in winter.
Yes, okay. But yeah, it is interesting that it is one of these industries where I imagine that farming in Australia is getting less and less, would you say, fresh people coming through, wanting to start their own farms. And there's probably multiple reasons, and part of it would be just the price of land. You know, it's one thing if you already own it or the family owns it to keep farming on it. But if you wanted to buy it and start from scratch, it's just infeasible, right? Like you just wouldn't be able to make enough money to ever pay off the loan. And so it is funny that they're turning to things like changing the genetics of the livestock that they're using to make it more affordable. Because I imagine if you end up with all of these sheep you don't have to shear, you're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars every single year from having to hire shearers to come in and do insane manual labor and all this effort of rounding the sheep up and all those other problems, like I think you were saying, being fly blown and everything like that, right?
Yeah. No, it's hard work, animal farming, because even sheep, you need to be constantly looking out for infections, depending on what country they're in.
Was it you telling me that they're way more high maintenance than like cattle and other...
Yeah, it wasn't me, but yeah.
Because we were chatting about this. We were away on the weekend and Grandpa was there, and we have a farm. He has a farm. He and his wife, Nana, they have a farm in Bendigo where they have sheep on the farm. They used to farm the sheep as a hobby. And everyone was talking about the different processes that you had to, you had to cut their toenails. Yeah. You had to, I can't remember the wording for it. You had to get rid of the wool around their groins once a year so that it didn't get fly blown. Crotching them, was it called?
Crotching is or mulesing is where you're cutting the skin off, and then every year though you still got a crutch. You've got to take or twice a year,
shear it off.
You're basically shearing, hand shearing, or mostly it's just taking the wool off around their backside so it doesn't get fly blown. So
and then you have to like treat them for different diseases, and vaccinate them effectively, worm them. Yeah, it was interesting just thinking about all those things, and then also just like I was chatting to Grandpa because I was interviewing him, asking him about his photo album that he was getting for his 95th birthday, and all the different photos in there, and we were talking about the farm and the different stages he'd sort of gone through with it, because I think he was saying his uncles had a farm in Queensland in the Darling Downs. Darling Downs. I keep thinking Darling Basin.
Yeah, it's the top of the Murray-Darling Basin.
And they had farm. What were they? They had different crops, and I think he was saying wheat, barley, fallow, in terms of leaving the fields with nothing, and then sheep or something. And they rotate through those, and so he caught the bug when he was a young boy, and then wanted his own. And I think you were telling me they tried cattle.
They had cattle on there when they first bought it, but the cattle are just too hard to manage.
Yeah, and the land.
Funnily enough, they're not as intensive as sheep, but they're much bigger animals, and so the land's just not suitable. The land it's got areas that's steep and it's rocky and things, and sheep are fine on that country.
Yeah, well, that was it. I think it was drier too, and I didn't realise that. Part of the reason he had chosen merino sheep that produced good wool for that area was because it was dry, and so when you go to wet areas... You need
bad conditions to grow fine wool.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. I'd never thought about it.
If you put merino sheep in Gippsland, well, firstly, they'd all die of disease because they just get too wet. But you put them on good feed all year. Yeah. The fibre, the fur, the hair, the wool fibre is thicker, because it's growing better.
And so you actually want to starve them to some degree, so you've got finer...
You're not starving them, but you're trying to put them on low quality food.
Really?
Effectively.
I hadn't even thought about that. Wow.
So putting them in that borderline dry country.
These sheep are just thinking every time you show up, cunts. Like, goddamn, guys. When do I get the good food?
Yeah.
You're like starving us so that you get some nice wool that's worth a lot more. That will go to Italy or whatever it was. So
it's mostly Italy and England to make men's suits out of.
Really,
mostly.
men's suits
Mostly.
So is what goes into woolen jumpers and everything? Is that coarser grade?
It's much coarser, and then even coarser again is things for carpet and stuff. But we don't grow a lot of that wool in Australia. Mostly, our wool is mostly superfine merino, which goes off to the European fine clothing trade.
I got to tell you, the funniest story I think Grandpa was telling me was that there was a grade of wool. So wool can be separated into different grades, right?
Yeah.
From superfine all the way down to coarse, and then I think he was saying dead wool.
Yeah, well, but the breed of sheep itself is the super fine.
Yeah.
And so there's fleece wool, which is just coming off, but you go everything down to dead wool, which is
where
actually
the animal's
wool that's been
dead.
cut off a dead sheep.
And he was saying, I think, that there was a story about the town Reedsdale nearby that had a Greek man that had migrated there and was living there, and he would just go around collecting dead wool.
Yeah,
off sheep.
His job was to get people would ring him up and say, "Come and shear my dead sheep that I've found in a paddock."
I think Grandpa was saying there was something questionable about the guy
whether he was actually
dead sheep in a lot of places.
in inverted. I'm doing air quotes here. Dead sheep. Yes.
It just seems to have 2 air holes in the side of the sheep from the
died of
bullets.
high velocity lead poisoning.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just sort of like, I can see the incentives would have been there. But Grandpa was saying that he potentially got septicemia from one time taking the dead wool off a sheep or a few sheep that had died on his property, and using his right arm to push it into a bale and scratching his arm, and it potentially the dead part of the sheep
certainly got septicemia, and it was a couple of weeks after that. So
it's crazy, right? Would you ever farm an animal? And if you had to farm one, what would you choose?
Probably goats.
Goats.
Yeah.
Why goats?
Because goats are cute. They're smart. They're a pain in the arse. Like they're
so noisy.
But they break through fences and things. So they're higher maintenance, but they're cute. They're intelligent.
You get those goats that have that genetic disorder where they freeze and straighten their limbs out and fall over. So that you can just walk out and be like,
bang, and go and pick them up.
Thunderclap, bang, and they all just collapse. Have you seen those videos of them doing that? Yeah. Where they get startled and their startle response is to faint and straighten out all their limbs.
Yes, I know. And just fall over.
But goats also seem like they're like the intelligent version of sheep, and they have like a fucked up sense of humor. You see the young ones where they there's videos out there of them like playing with each other, and there'll be one little goat that's like jumping on top of all the other goats and animals and like kicking them over and doing backflips and stuff and just laughing. They also eat everything, don't they?
They do. They eat almost everything. Yeah.
But it was interesting. They'd taken the sheep off the farm, my grandparents' farm, recently because it had been so dry there, right?
Yeah,
we had a few of these trees.
Just run out of food. Yeah.
A few of these big trees one of them had been planted by Nana and Grandpa when they built the place, right?
50 years ago.
And it just died.
Yeah.
And I think when we were walking around, the interesting thing to see was the bark being stripped off the trees. Yeah. And I wonder if that's the sign that the
sheep and the kangaroos.
Yeah. I wonder though if that's the sign that
that they're running out of food.
Yeah, and then they decided to take them off the farm.
Well, because the sheep on your grandparents' farm were being adjusted. They weren't theirs. It was.
You want to explain what that is?
Yeah, well, it's another farmer just pays them to have his sheep on their property and feed. But because they were running out of grass on the property, it's 56 hectares, so it's a fair amount of land. But they were running out of feed, and the farmer was having to bring bales of hay in, and as was every other farmer around, because every other farmer was having the same problem. And so hay was getting very expensive, and in the end he just decided it's costing me more to keep these sheep alive than they're actually worth.
Yeah. So he had to take them off and probably send them off to be butchered.
Market.
All right. Well, that's probably enough. But yeah, it's interesting seeing them use these methods of breeding in order to try and make more.
Well, biotechnology is going to hopefully improve a whole lot of things.
They just need to make a sheep that can shear itself. You just walk up to it and press a button, and its fleece just falls off in one beautiful like outfit, you know. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.